Hello and welcome to, what am I doing? That's the option I want. My 30th Spelunky video. I can't believe I've made 30 of these now, though they've gradually trickled out now over time as I've run out of brain power. This video again fits within the theme of, whoops, that was accidentally quite good. Fits within the theme of things that are a big influence on me, or very significant to me, and it's the last in that theme or that series, and it's about the internet, which has been a massive deal to me. The internet is kind of a massive deal to lots of people because it's kind of part of the fundamental infrastructure of a lot of our lives, but for me in certain ways it's very significant, and I'll try and see if I can get through some of those, how that matters to me, and some of those sort of concepts while I make this video and play a game. I should be entirely clear with you, due to a series of poor decisions. I'm making this quite early in the morning. The sun has come up, but I haven't been able to sleep very well. So this video also may not be very long and may be confused, which is an accurate representation of how I am all the time. Just, whoops, where did that, there, it's fine, he's fine, it's all fine. But yeah, so that's good. Again, nearly finished the first level without actually going over anything, which is great. And I should also quickly add, before I start properly talking about the topic, this is going to be the penultimate Spelunky video for a number of reasons. Because of reasons. One of them being sort of running out of stuff that I actually know about and that I can talk about. And another reason being just stuff that I'm doing, and how I feel about Spelunky now, and how I feel about some other things. The next video might be a little bit different. It'll be the last one, and it might be a little bit different as well. We'll see. I'm not the youngest person around. It's silly because I'm not very old, but I grew up without the internet, as of course most people of my generation did, and it's really interesting to be on the internet surrounded by people who have grown up with the internet and taken it for granted. The internet was something that was increasingly talked about, I guess, on TV and things in the was that worth doing? I think that was worth doing. In the mid-90s, and I think we got an internet connection in our school in sort of the mid-late 90s, and it was quite a bad internet connection because it was something like 20 or 30 PCs hooked up to one ISDN line, which was awful, which was actually worse than giving all the PCs the worst possible modem that you could buy at the time. It was quite a poor decision. So I wasn't able to use the internet really all that much at school, and then when I was 17 we got the internet. Not quite sure I actually touched that bat, but never mind. Got the internet in my house, which as I was going to say, I think had a massive impact on my life for a whole bunch of reasons. There we go. Back then, as it was for most people, it was a dial-up internet service where you have a modem, and you usually actually pay to use the phone line. So using the internet, as well as paying whatever the subscription was that you paid monthly, you just paid your phone bills, and the internet was actually a massively expensive thing back then, or it certainly was for me, and my experience of it was massively expensive, and it's much more affordable now. What the internet initially did for me was it connected me to a lot of other people immediately, and that was fascinating to me because I lived in a small commuter town in Hampshire that for a while, didn't have a bookshop, if I remember correctly. I remember when we got a decent bookshop, and that was quite nice. Oh dear, I didn't mean to throw that quite as enthusiastically as I did. And this isn't a level where there are dudes with other torches, so we have to be a bit more careful. So the internet kind of gave me, as a 17-year-old kid, the outside world. It gave me the rest of the world. And one of the first of those rest of the world things was, as I say, other people. It gave me lots of other people to speak to who were from the rest of the world. And I mean, I haven't been in a chat room or a place where you chat to people on the internet for a long time. And the people I talk to now are people who I know or work with, or, you know, I know them in sort of some kind of context, and I don't go into a place on the internet to talk to strangers. But actually, in the 90s, we did that all the time, me and my friends, and we found that quite normal. And the great thing about doing it in about 1997 was, I'm just checking up here in case I missed anything exciting, and I didn't, but I can light some more torches. I've got ropes, so I can afford to do this. Torches, hey, that's probably not worth the money. Back then, I was talking to people from all over the world. Something happened sort of a few years later where chat rooms became kind of homogenous and just became full of people from English-speaking countries, and mostly full of people from America and Canada. But originally, when me and several of my friends were using them, we would talk. They'd still be people from Western countries, really, but you know, you would end up chatting to people who were from Italy and Japan and France and Canada and America and Australia and New Zealand, and again, still, I guess, kind of Western countries, but from everywhere and from a huge amount of places where people all spoke different languages and had different upbringings and different experiences. And this was amazing. This was, you know, immediately amazing to me, because there was no one like that where I grew up. Everyone was often quite similar, and in a way that I found sometimes quite alienating. And when you are someone who has quite a big imagination, maybe an imagination that's too big sometimes, and all your dreams are quite big, and then the real world is quite small, it's not very exciting, you know, that's not very much fun. So it's actually amazing to talk to people from other places and who, you know, have different day-to-day experiences from you. And that was in lots of ways a very cool experience, and it was very educating, and it was the first of a number of things about the internet that was incredibly educating for me. Another thing that happened, and this was, I guess, a few years later, or sort of as we get into the later parts of the 90s, was, what am I doing? What am I actually doing here? Does anybody know? Please do write your answers on a postcard and send them in. Had a bit of trouble there trying to do stuff with scorpions as well. I'll be honest with you, I've totally lost my thread. And is there a way I can trigger that to make that explode? Because I don't like that either. Let's come back to that. No, a thing the internet did again a little bit later was, I mean, obviously it's already connecting me with people, but it also connected me with people that I never thought I would actually connect with or be able to speak to. And by this, I basically mean people who are in some way famous or cool or interesting. And usually you would meet people who are famous or cool or interesting by trying to be in the same place that they were at a particular time, or going to an event that they're at, or paying to do something where you can meet them. I guess that was the way things used to work. That was clever. That was not at all what I wanted to have happen. So that's good. I wrote around 2001. I wrote to a composer that I liked on the internet, or I wrote to someone who I thought was the composer's agent about their work, or just asked them to send the message on. And I did this via email. And the thing about email is it's not like if you stop a person in the street and you go, I'm a big fan, this is the only time I'm going to see you, I'd like to talk to you immediately. Email's a very sort of indirect asynchronous thing, and someone could reply to an email whenever they want to, if they want to. And this composer actually wrote back to me because he had the luxury of time being able to do that. And I was blown away by this. I couldn't believe that I'd actually got in touch with a person whose work I thought was cool, and I was able to speak to them. This happened a couple of years later when I wrote, I had a couple of emails back and forth with a guy called Harry Shearer, and Harry Shearer's an actor and a voice actor. He's probably most famous as one of the voice actors on The Simpsons, but he's also a bit of a political commentator, and he has a radio show in the US that has different political discussions on it and reflections, and he's one of the actors in Spinal Tap, and he's been in a few other things. But I wrote to him with a query, with a question, not really expecting that anything would happen, because why would it? But it turns out that Harry Shearer is quite happy to speak to Peter. That's not what I wanted to have happen. I wanted the whole thing to explode, because I want the dog. Have I just made a hole that I can't get out of? You see, it's just... Oh, maybe I can. It's just... Don't... What you should do all the time is sleep. People should sleep. I haven't slept properly in a long time, I'll be quite honest with you. Oh, hello. Right. Something's ticking. Where is it? Let's have a quiet look. Harry Shearer is quite happy to write to people who send him nice messages and engage him in conversation. And you know what? That seemed kind of sensible and fair to me, that you can do that. You can be nice to people who might be interesting and they might want to have a chat with you. But I don't know, that seems kind of silly and obvious now, but it blew me away at the time that I basically got to have not just an email sent back to me that said thanks for writing to me, Paul, but just have a short discussion about something, which was amazing. With a guy who was very neat. Okay, that might be where we want to go. Oh my goodness, this is taking all the bombs. Okay. Now, do I have time to get the crate? I think I probably don't now, because I can't be bothered to faff around with a ghost. No, can't be bothered. I think it's time to go to the market with one bomb and possibly try and kill everyone, who knows. Because I don't think I've angered any shopkeepers yet, have I? Do I want to get that bit of gold? I'm just hesitating. The internet also got me my first decent jobs through a similar kind of thing. Since I was a kid, I'd wanted to write about video games. And I'd always thought that would be a very cool thing to do. And Jetpack's a game changer. Jetpack is the key to success. Gun shop doesn't sell guns, that's good. Okay, how am I going to do this? I frequented message boards on the internet that were frequented by people who were writing about video games who I liked, and I got in touch with them and was surprised that they wrote back and were actually very nice to me, and offered me support and advice, and I put a portfolio together, and it was passed on to people who offered me work, and that would never have happened without the internet. I would never have been able to make that connection with people and communicate with them without the internet offering me that. Thank you so much, that possibility. And again, that was still kind of unbelievable to me. I couldn't believe that was really happening. Whoops, that's not where I meant to throw that. Oh. Okay, the bad men have gone. Oh, there's even a shotgun down there because somehow that happened. Are they just going to repeatedly shoot each other in the end? Because if they do, that's also advantageous. Let's see. And that led me down a career path that has led me, I suppose, to meeting many of the people I have and doing what it is that I do now. And obviously everything that I do now is kind of in some way paid for by the internet, whether it's the stuff that we've done with Shut Up and Sit Down, or whether it's freelance games journalism. My audience is on the internet, and the internet's the medium through which I connect with people. And the framework that exists in order for me to be able to pay to have a sandwich and not be homeless, which again is a little bit bizarre to me, I suppose. Where have the other guys gone? One of them's dead down there, which is immediately worrying. We need to get the ghost away from us, so let's do that. I don't know why I'm using the plural now. There's just no need for that. There's one chap down there. Does he even have a gun? He might not have a gun. So that was an extraordinary thing. And furthermore, when Wikipedia kicked off in about 2004 or whenever it was, I used to edit Wikipedia quite often. Not loads, but I created some pages on Wikipedia that didn't exist before, that weren't there, including one for the actor John Cazale, who's a kind of quite famous actor who didn't have a page on Wikipedia, and I thought that was a bit strange, considering every single film he was in was nominated for Best Oscar. I thought that's a bit odd, so better put him on there. And what Wikipedia did for me was something that the internet again had done to some degree already, but Wikipedia just gave me lots of stuff to read and gave me lots of education. There was quite a good library in the town next to the town that I grew up in. And there was a not bad library attached to my school when I was at school as well. But the internet as a whole, and particularly when Wikipedia really took off and when I found myself occasionally adding edits and reading things on there, it was amazing for me in what it taught me. And this is another way that the internet has kind of changed my life. I've never actually been a brilliant student, and I've never been brilliant at... Are you going to reveal anything? No. Brilliant at being sort of a diligent, coherent person who does all their work or does all their studying when they should. But the internet was an amazing way for me to constantly discover new things and find stuff. And it was partly what led to me deciding that I wanted to do philosophy as a subject at university, and caused me to move to London, which has been a mixed blessing. But the internet taught me an awful lot. Also, when I was 19 years old and doing a job that was a bad job, and actually not having very much fun, being a bit lonely in my horrid small town. The internet taught me how to play guitar. No one in my family did particularly arty or musical things. We weren't that sort of family. And I'd always wanted to play instruments, and I had to sort of do my best when it came to teaching myself to play the drums, which is something that I did manage to do over time. And I could sort of do by just watching and trying things over and over again. It's not something that I learnt particularly quickly. I don't know if it's ever something that I became all that good at. But I did my best to teach myself how to play the drums. And then when we had the internet and when I was stuck in my absolutely abysmal job, I would come home every evening, and in order to try and unwind, I would play the guitar for about an hour or two, maybe 3 or 4. And it turns out that if you do that for a long time, if you do that day after day after day, and you trap yourself in crap jobs day after day after day, you actually spend lots of time practicing. You spend lots of time playing. And everything that I played was stuff that I downloaded from the internet. The internet was absolutely full of Guitar Tab, and Guitar Tab is a very sort of simple kind of musical shorthand for guitar, which isn't quite as good as musical notation, but it's certainly good enough for telling you where to put your fingers on guitars to make sounds happen. You cheeky man, you very cheeky man. That could have been a lot more painful than it was. But without the internet, that I would never have done that. That would never have happened. What am I doing? What am I doing here? The internet is, I suppose, ideal for someone like myself who's... I'd love to say I'm really self-motivated. It's more that I'm just so kind of disorganised or so all over the place that the internet provides a framework where I can get things that I need when I need them. Or it gives me a way of finding something when I need to find that something. So if you do... That was quite close. You almost woke up. I don't know if I need this dog, so let's see if I can get something cool. I can get some glasses, which in real life I also need. So that's apt. Let's sacrifice another person, because why not? The internet is ideal for someone who stops and starts irregularly. It's incredibly convenient. It's information on demand, and when you're someone who really likes all sorts of information, but who might not want or need it right now, or might need it in a particular flavour at a particular time, the internet's a lifesaver. And it's probably a lifesaver again if you're a bad student, as I was, because you don't need to just be in a place at a particular time to learn something or to discover it. There's a strange kind of permanence about the internet that's even more permanent than any other media. Obviously people put websites up and they take them down again, but they're almost always archived in some way, and it's also not a great idea to try and take something off the internet and pretend it was never there, because you just get found out, and people point out, they'll archive something, or they'll have a copy of it and they'll point out that you are trying to cover your tracks. The internet has a strange kind of transparency to it in that way that I find fascinating, and I think the historical implications for this could be amazing, because we're filling our world with more and more information or data all the time, and not all of it is particularly useful or relevant, but just mining that data, just sorting all that information, going through it, trying to find what you want to find, particularly maybe 10 or 15 years down the line. Facebook's now 10 years old. Facebook has just turned 10 years old. And I remember a few years ago, Facebook had an advert where the concept they had of themselves is that they could actually become the sort of the diary of your life, the document of your life, whereby a whole life could be lived and documented on Facebook, and I suppose potentially continue to exist there long after you don't. and I suppose a sobering reflection I have on that is that a late friend of mine still has a Facebook page, still exists now, and it's still full of information, about her, and is still a repository of, I suppose, things about her and her life and things that she did, in a sort of a memorial kind of way that I don't think I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying that this is at all a creepy thing or an unpleasant thing, but the way that we sort and store this information and how easy it actually is to index and to search through. Yeah, I really need that gun, so I need to blow my way back to it. Pick it up. This is a persistent problem that I have in Spelunky, is the chat not picking things up when I press the pick things up button. Don't know why this is, although apparently it doesn't just happen to me. But it is, I mean, I actually checked with some scientists, and they did some tests, and it is actually the most annoying thing just anywhere ever in history. It's just the most annoying thing. It's particularly not good if you need to pick something up kind of in a hurry, which sometimes you do in Spelunky because things happen and you're in a hurry. Shoes with spikes on, now we're talking. I didn't expect to last as long as I have, so I'm becoming increasingly confused, as you've probably guessed. But yeah, there is also the persistence. Media of some degree has always had a horrible kind of persistence to it anyway, which is very difficult for certain people to deal with, because life generally isn't supposed to be a particularly persistent thing. It's supposed to be oh, that was close. I thought it wasn't going to go through. A series of moments that happen and then pass. But the problem with all media is if you record moments, you're able to refer back to them in a way that can be very interesting and very reflective, but it can also be very awkward and difficult if you're a movie star and you say something when you're 25 years old that you don't agree with or care about or feel reflects you 25 years later, but people, continue to play that clip or continue to talk about a thing that you did. The reality of people is that people are complicated and they change. And goodness, it's getting really, really dangerous out here. And I'm not sure I like it. Good heavens. There we are, I dealt with that problem. If in doubt, shoot. Keep shooting. Almost always a good way to just handle everything, just keep shooting. Lovely. Right, I'm doing quite well with the money now. But I worry about that with the internet as well. I mean, there's not particularly very much that we can do about that, because there are too many ways for information to stick around. So we just have to bear in mind that there are people out there who, in maybe 15, 20 years time, will be trying to get a job, and at the interview, possibly someone will discover that there is a video of them as a baby on the internet doing something hilariously embarrassing. Which doesn't mean that they won't get the job, but the videos that your parents posted up of you as a kid doing something will stick around somewhere. The jokes that you put on Facebook that might have been slightly offensive or problematic will stick around. The pictures of you doing a particular thing will stick around. Lots of stuff is going to stick around more often, I think, and it won't necessarily be very well indexed. It won't necessarily be easy to find. But it'll still be out there. And of course there'll be more and more effort placed around how you actually index and mine that information and dig it out, and sort it and find the useful bits of it. I sometimes think about this in terms of myself as well, because I've kind of embraced the internet. and I've been on the internet now for half of my life without it and half of my life with it, and it's probably absolutely full of stuff I've done and stuff I've said and embarrassing things. I mean, I've used the internet as a sounding board for a bunch of stuff in the past, and I've said and shared some very personal things, and mostly I don't regret that. Although I do regret some things. I think it's very normal to have regrets, and people who say they don't have regrets are weird or lying, I think. And people who are weird or lying are sort of just strange. People shouldn't be weird or lying. I think it's normal to have regrets and to make mistakes and to feel bad about things that you've done. And as I've said before, I like people who are imperfect because they seem human and much more rational, and I can deal with people who are imperfect and who do things wrong and who are three-dimensional. I can't so much deal with people who don't appear to be, or who try and portray themselves as not being so, because again I find that kind of suspicious. But oh dear. Yeah, that's the fatigue settling in now. But yeah, there's 17 years worth of Paul out there already. There's possibly going to be 17 years more, unless I fall into like a sausage making machine, which again is entirely possible. And I think it's reasonable to expect that could happen to me. But because of what I do and how visible I can be on the internet, I think for me a lot of that is only going to increase as well. And so as I say, I think about this sometimes, and I think about what the long and short term implicate. Oh no! Oh, I meant to jump on. Oh, I didn't go through the head because I'm tired, and now I can't go to the place to do the other thing in the other place, which would only get me killed anyway. Isn't that sad? Isn't that sad? This is also a thing that I'm doing a lot lately, is being very tired and making mistakes. Making lots of silly mistakes. So let's go on the spaceship instead, because that'll definitely kill me. That has a proven track record for making me extremely dead very quickly. Also, because I've only got one bomb, I probably can't kill the thing that's on it. The spaceship is kind of horrid, and I don't know what they were thinking. I don't like the mammoths either. I think they're horrible. But I think, yeah, it's hard for a lot of us to know what the long and short term, particularly the long term implications for all this exposure and persistence of information is going to be. That was close. That could have turned out a lot worse. The internet's increasingly made me, in a small way, a bit of a public figure as well, because social networks like Twitter cause that to happen. And I don't, although I might seem like an open person, there's lots of things I don't actually share. I'm very mixed with what I do and don't share. But I'm probably more open than some people are. I don't know. It's complicated. But I don't actively try and hide myself or anything. And especially as I've got older, I'm increasingly likely to say what I think or say how I feel, which I feel is probably healthy, hopefully. Should be happy with me. I've sacrificed so many things that it's kind of nuts. I'm going to try the spaceship just because I've never got through the spaceship before, and because I'm ever so tired and time's marching on and I should go out this morning. So if I die, this works out perfectly. If I don't die, who knows what kind of, yeah, but we'll cross that metaphorical bridge when we come to it. If you're still watching, I'm amazed, by the way, just for the record. And I've forgotten where I put my shotgun. It must have been near where I was picking those bodies up, because that would make sense. A lot of the time I like the idea of things like Twitter, and I like the idea of the connections the internet can bring, because like I say, it's done so much for me, and it's done so much for me with providing me with information or a way to get in touch with people I might never otherwise get in touch with, which is really cool. Those tanks are hilarious because they are so ridiculously stupid. If there are bombs around here, I'm going to have a great time. Oh, I tell you what, because I've still got the yank, I have a spare life. I didn't think about that, so I'm not going to die immediately anyway. Oh, although, who knows in this place. These levels are just total nonsense. See, I mean, look at that. That's just so silly. I can't shoot you because of the dog. Oh, no. Oh, that is exactly what I didn't want to have happen. Is the dog okay? Dog's not okay. Twitter is definitely a thing that allows complete strangers to be rude to you in the privacy of your own home. I've generally been really, really lucky on the internet with how am I mean, I can't even see where the thing is. Oh, that's great. That's exactly what I didn't need to have happen. And my thing ran out of fuel. This is really difficult. I'm having quite a difficult time trying to work out where to go because of the layout of this level and because of what's happening. Also, getting stuck in places probably doesn't really help very much. And I've got one bomb, which also doesn't really help very much because I've been generally very fortunate so far. Okay, so if you whip those, they explode. But it's getting to the point now where the level of attention that I get on the internet and the level of responses that I get from people, I bet I'm top of the table. That, you've got to, I mean, that's quite good. You've got to be happy with that. 176, $210,000. The level of attention that I have is such that there are a lot of people out there who maybe don't have very much connection with me, or who don't know very much about me, get in contact with me and send things that can be, at the best it can be impersonal, and at the worst it can be just poorly informed and not very pleasant and very judgmental, which is, as I understand it, something that is something that you will increasingly suffer on the internet as your profile raises, or I suppose if you are a person and your profile raises, more and more people will pass comment about what you do. The internet is a kind of a thoroughfare through which it's like walking down a street, and anyone coming the other way can volunteer something about you or at you, and it can be informed or not informed, or polite or not polite. And that's the nature of the medium. Also, it's getting to the point as well where the volume of contact that people send me is such that I can't keep up with it. I cannot keep up with tweets and emails and things, which I actually find quite sad, because I'm not a big fan of difference or exceptionalism in that sort of way, and I would like to be able to communicate well with people and connect with people and give and receive with people, which is not something that is possible when you start to get that volume of communication, which is, as I say, a shame and kind of maybe a little bit isolating. Thanks for watching. This is really long. It's way longer than I meant it to be, and it's very confused. I'm extremely tired. I have to go out now and meet someone. It's very sunny, for what that's worth, so you know that's a plus. I really need to just eat caffeine or something. Thanks for watching all of the videos. I have a lot of videos now up. I have 30 with this. As I say, there's one more to come. I have altogether too many views, so thank you for the thousands of views that I've had. But things are changing, and I think it's an appropriate time to start winding down making these videos about this. I might make other videos about other things in the future, because I've got a YouTube channel and you know where it is, and you can come and watch things. But you know, the future is the undiscovered country, as we all know if we've read Shakespeare or seen that film where the Klingon gets really angry. Thanks for watching this. Maybe I'll make the last one particularly unusual or good. I don't know. That'll come soon. Bye.